Hey guys, Becca here, and I am going through a spiritual awakening. And what I want to talk to you guys about today is the design of a spiritual awakening. Now, obviously, it's different for everyone, but one of the most beautiful things that I've been able to experience is look back and see that this is designed. I know that a lot of it feels really chaotic, really messy, and there's a lot of moments where it's just plain bleak and it can seem like, what the fuck is the point of this? Um, but, I'm going on to my third year in this, and I can tell you it's so beautifully and perfectly and creatively designed for you and exactly what it is that your soul needs to experience. And what's really happening, what I can really sense is happening in this awakening and in any awakening, is that we are being cleaned out, right? Like when we wake up, we look around, and I remember when I woke up, my one of my first thoughts was like, holy shit, I'm not who I thought I was. And then I kind of looked around at my life and it was like, how is this my life? Like, how did I create this? I created this by not knowing who I was. Like, there were some parts of my life that I didn't like. And when I found out and I realized that I had created those things based on false beliefs, impurities in my field and in my body, and impure and unaligned thoughts, beliefs, stories, meanings, actions, words, behaviors, etc., had created this reality that I was living in. And when I woke up, when I realized that that's not who I was, um, that all kind of starts to crumble. And it shows you how what you hold on the inside creates your reality outside of you, right? And so this process of awakening is really a cleaning out of the impurities, the thoughts and the beliefs and the stories and the meaning that we've applied to things that's out of alignment from this new version, this new embodied, awakened version of ourselves that we're stepping into, that we're aligning with, that we are becoming, right? Which is our true self, it's our authentic self. It's the self that lives and leads with the heart, not from the egoic mind, right? And so this process of awakening, why it can be so painful, is that it's just really excavating and digging up all of these impurities and bringing them to the surface to be looked at, changed, alchemized, transformed, released, so that we can move into this higher vibrational energetic as a person and on this planet. And the universe, or your higher self, however you want to think about it, it's gonna clean you out. And I almost picture it as like a snake that's just winding through, and it's dipping into all the nooks and crannies and all the hiding spots and all the corners where you've got these impurities, you've got these beliefs and thought forms that need transforming, that need releasing. And even if you've done a lot of work in certain areas, there might still be stickiness or residue left over where some things are still flying under your radar, right? They're still in your blind spot. They're still impacting and affecting the way that you think and the way that you respond and move throughout this world, right? So like, as we become these upgraded versions of ourselves, we literally exist in this world differently. And it can be really painful to navigate this. And it can be a real bruise to the ego at times to realize that you have some things that you've done or been or thought or said that were really out of alignment with who you desire to be. And sometimes you were just straight up wrong about who you thought you were. And the process can be really uncomfortable of letting go of who you were. But I have a fun example. It's a lighter example. I've got heavier ones. Those can be for a different time. But I've got sort of this fun example of the way that my guides, who I work with regularly, I highly recommend calling in your guides and your higher self and just letting it be known that you want to do this actively with them. And so a prayer that I use on a regular basis is, please show me what's in my blind spot. Show me what is still flying right under my radar of consciousness. Old habits that are still affecting and impacting how I live, that's keeping me from really aligning and embodying this new awakened version. And I had a friend reach out to me. I've done a lot of work personally around, for me, it was men, seeking attention and validation from men to validate and give myself a sense of self-worth. Completely ego driven, obviously. And I've made from that place, I had made really poor decisions. I had been unfaithful in a really important relationship to me. At one point in time, for a brief moment, I was even involved with a man who was married at the time. I made bad decisions based off of what I can know now is past trauma, old belief systems. And so I had a friend reach out to me who knows that I've done a lot of that work and knows that I'm still doing that work. You know, the universe is still giving me opportunities to make new and better choices with men and relationships in my life. And I have to be really aware when the ego is trying to come in and get some sort of quick hit or satisfaction or rush from the attention that I might get from a man, right? So I had a friend reach out to me because he was in a bit of a sticky situation with a woman who was a friend of his, a colleague, and she's married, separating, but married. And there was a level of professionalism that he needed to maintain, but his ego was coming in and he was really getting carried away and really felt that he was on track to potentially make some bad choices and asked for some guidance. And I had just read this passage in a book, The Naked Now by Richard Rohr. I highly recommend. And in this one section, he's talking about moral conversion. So I'll just read it really quickly. I sent my friend a snapshot of this paragraph. And it said, despite the word moral, this kind of conversion is not what you might think, such as giving up your drink, your money, and your sexual thoughts. It's more subtle. It's a purification of your real motives for doing things, even good things, from the usual desires for personal satisfaction, a need for control personally or socially, or any craving to build up the ego or feel good about yourself. Instead, you shift to the honest perception of value outside yourself. When people can seek the true good and the common good, even when it is of no ego advantage to them, you have a morally converted person. So I sent him this, he appreciates it. He's reading it, he's working on it. And I felt really sort of like honored that I could help him walk through and work through something that I've done so much work on and offer him total levels of compassion and empathy and understanding because I get it. And I've done that work, right? And I was feeling proud of myself for doing that work, which is valid. That night, I'm sure I said my prayer at that point, my ask to the universe, please wherever in my life there is something that's flying under my radar or it's in my blind spot that I cannot see, please call it to my attention so I can work through this. Like, help me help you, so we can work through these things together. Because otherwise, if you're just in complete resistance to it all the time, when these things pop up, they can really jump out at you and be really disconcerting and can throw you off your game. And you have to learn these lessons the hard way. So I'm just really asking, like, okay, serve up these lessons to me in any way that you want. Get creative. I love it. I know you will. Thank you. That night, I go to sleep and I have a dream. And a little bit of a background here. I have a dear friend, a different friend who is a male friend, completely platonic, whom I occasionally, maybe every 1 to 3 months, just depending on schedule and availability, I will go get lunch with. Just a quick 1 hour lunch here and there, catch up, talk about really cool, kind of heady things. I enjoy the conversation. But I was aware that he was making the decision to not tell his wife that we were meeting and having these lunches and that we occasionally exchanged text messages. Despite it being completely platonic, he was making the decision based on his belief that she would not be okay with it. She would feel betrayed. She would, whatever. And there's an old part of me that was separating myself from that and saying, well, that's not my problem. I'm just his friend. I'm not doing anything wrong. If he feels the need to keep it a secret, that's on him. And, I didn't see it. I did not see how that's not in alignment. And I had a dream that night. And I've never been to this man's house. He lives further away. But I had a dream that I was in his home and that we were hanging out and his wife came home. And my first instinct was to try to hide. And so there was a lot of panic and fear and worry. And inevitably I was caught and she saw me. And there was this sense of betrayal and hurt and also annoyance and frustration at me of like, why you got to be trying to hang out with my husband? Like, why are you always trying to hang out with my husband? And I woke up and I just felt icky. I did not feel good. And I texted him and I told him about my dream and how it made me feel. And he actually told me that he had almost an identical dream a few months before and had woken up feeling pretty shaken and not great about it, but didn't really know what to do about it. Because again, there's this sense of we're not doing anything wrong, right? And that's as far as the conversation has gotten, except for that there's been an understanding that there's likely going to have to be a change. And my gut is telling me that the change is going to be that he and I stop getting lunch and potentially stop communicating altogether. If he feels that this is not something he can talk to his wife about. And, I just have to be okay with that. Is there a part of me when I look at my, this purification of real motives for doing things is on some level, was meeting with him building up my ego, or on some level giving this up feels like a hit to my ego? A little bit. But again, when people can seek the true good and the common good, what's the common good here? When it is of no ego advantage to them. So I'm going to pull myself up and back from this situation. My ego is driving. My ego is making excuses. And although that can seem harmless, it is part of a larger lesson that I'm learning. And it was just really getting into this nook and this cranny, this little dark corner where I still had some thought, beliefs, and patterns that were out of alignment. And if you can, while you're going through this process of awakening, if you can slow down, set your ego aside, it's tough, I know, step back, take a broader, a bird's eye view perspective, and see that this is divinely designed to clear you out, to clean up your insides, so that you are now become this beautiful, clear projector to project all of this clean, aligned, awakened beauty out onto the world around you. That's how you create your reality. That's how you create heaven on earth. You clean yourself out. In this awakening process, I call it the squeeze. Sometimes I picture it like a tube of toothpaste, like I'm being squeezed and all these impurities are coming up and out. And they hurt when they went in. They're going to hurt when they come out. It's part of the process. But again, finding some gratitude, finding the sheer creative genius that went into this design. I mean, that was beautiful. I mean, it's not always that clear as a dream, but these lessons will get to you. You will have an opportunity laid out on a silver platter for you to move to and through these parts of you and clean yourself out. That is what this is all about. So slow down, take a step back, see the design, participate, be an active participant in this awakening. Let it be known you wish to actively and preemptively participate. So you're not constantly just tripping on these lessons. Slow down, open your heart, open your mind, take a deep breath, and see these lessons as they come through. They're beautiful, they're for you. Enjoy the ride. Talk to you soon. Bye, guys.